Welcome back. And if you're just joining us, this is Daybreak on Trust Television. Now going to our first discussion of the day. As many as 23 of the victims of the AK9 train attack are still in captivity. They are still being held 6 months today after their abduction. More than 60 passengers were abducted when terrorists attacked the train conveying them from Abuja to Kaduna. Most of the freed passengers paid 100 million as ransom and above, allegedly facilitated by Kaduna-based publisher Tukur, who is currently in DSS custody. We have a security expert and a retired AIG, Wilson Inaligu, to talk to us about this. Mr. Wilson, you're welcome to the show.
Yeah, it's a pleasure for me to be here. Good morning.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I mean, this is 6 months. That's too long, for anyone to be in the custody of an abductor. It means that their freedom is taken away from them. We've seen videos of how they are being treated in some of those places, not to even talk about the condition of where they are. We understand that it's a bush, of course, and so in this raining season, you can only imagine the kind of harsh weather condition that they will be exposed to. So as far as rescuing the remaining 23 of these abductees, have we run out of options? Have we exhausted all our options, or what?
Oh, certainly not. What I wanted to understand about kidnap, abduction, being a hostage, is a delicate situation that you don't just aggressively approach it. Time is of essence, and my heart actually go out to those in captivity and their loved ones. But I think of late there have been some measure of success. From the Northeast, you have a lot of hostages are being released, and even in the Northwest. But the high-profile train attack victims, 23. Now, when you have 23 held as hostage, the hostage rescue team will be brainstorming on what to do. And that is where intelligence comes in, technology comes in, and the local population trying to give you information about these people. So what can you do? You try to apply a measure of pressure. You pressure them in, because their locations, even though they may be varying them from place to place, but I think the security agencies will have a fair idea. But you see, you try to avoid collateral damage. Don't forget, kidnapping, abduction, it's not so, it's a recent development. So capacity for even rescue have been gradually developed. I want you to understand that. And when you have 23 individual people being held hostage, and with these terrorists, because the train attack was essentially purely a terrorist attack.
Okay, the truth is that as long as these abductees are in the hands of these abductors, the abductors will continue to use them as shield, human shield in some way. And we say we don't want collateral damage. We don't want to incur collateral damage. Understandable. So are we now negotiating if we are not going to use force?
From what you see, you observe that for those that were released, certainly the negotiations were taking place.
They paid ransom, many of them.
Yeah, but they are also product of negotiation that led to the alleged ransom payment. I hope you understand. The point I'm trying to make is this. Once you have people, don't forget, even the Thunderbolt operation in Entebbe, conducted by the Israelis, it took time to plan. And that is why, once people are held as captives, and when you are approaching it, it's not like you aggressively, because you try to avoid. Now, the security agencies obviously are developing capacity. Capacity for negotiation, capacity to violently rescue, capacity to mount pressure, and technical capacity. You see where they are, and you see how can you push them, and then they panic and release.
Mr. Naligo.
And that is what happens in some of those releases.
You know, just before Michael Uncle comes in, we often say that we are developing capacity. It suggests that we are kind of surprised by the recent developments as far as security in Nigeria is concerned. It seems to suggest that we are unprepared for the kinds of security threats that we are dealing with right now. All along, we've been laid back, perhaps because we are not having those kind of threats back then. We were comfortable with where we were, and we were not working, to develop our systems to make sure that we're ahead of, the way criminality is evolving as well.
Yeah, each kidnap presents its own challenges that are peculiar to a particular abduction or kidnap. And that is why time you use to brainstorm, synergize with other intelligence and security agencies. That is what you do. It is, the capacity is not what you can keep on the bookshelf and you just come. You look at the current situation. They are in the forest, like you said. They were taken from the train. What is the capacity? Now,
but what has changed about kidnapping anyways? What has changed about kidnapping? What has changed about strategies of kidnapping? From time immemorial, when one is kidnapped, he is kidnapped. He is going to be held hostage in some unknown location.
Yeah, that's true.
Or whatever. That has always been the tradition.
But this is
the kidnappers will try to negotiate in some instances and give deadlines and give timelines for you to meet up with their demands. Otherwise, so isn't that the traditional thing about kidnapping?
It is a traditional, but we are dealing with mass kidnap. I recall when we were in the FCT, and we have people taken on kidnap. Now, you have a number of 2 or 3. You can storm their enclave. But for God's sake, when you have 60 or you have 200 school children, you aren't going to just go in there. Because if you do that, the government is going to be blamed. The law enforcement security agencies. And that is why.
But while these things were happening in other climes, what were we doing? While terrorism was ongoing in other climes, what were we doing as a nation? What were we doing with our security?
The training, purely, this is a law enforcement, this is within the realm of law enforcement. And the law enforcement, of course, have capacity. But when you have mass kidnap of this magnitude, now, and it is also, we must be careful so that we don't pressurize. And you're going to have a terrible national backlash. There have been attempts. A lot have been rescued. I read in the papers.
Mr. Naligo, a lot of persons have been rescued, but most of those people that were rescued said they paid money. Now, relatives of those in captivity are saying that their relatives are still there because they cannot raise 100 million. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, don't forget, the Chibok girls were kidnapped several years ago. Even up till now, they are still being rescued. Yes, it is 6 months, but that 6 months gives you the opportunity to understand the mentality of these people holding these hostages. And with the intelligence from the local community, with the intelligence that is shared among security agencies, you are now able to craft an attack strategy. And I'm telling you this, a lot have been kidnapped without ransom paid. Of course, some pay ransom, even against security advice. And we can understand that when your loved one is held, the whole community is prepared to contribute one kobo to rescue. But the security said, don't pay, because as the more ransom you pay, the more money
Okay, but there are fears that these people may continue to remain there. For instance, if you look at the front page of the Daily Trust today, you see 11 schoolgirls of FGC, 468 days and counting. One student of Bethel Baptist, 441 days. What is the guarantee that these people, we don't just keep counting the days?
Not to forget the Chibok girls.
Not to forget the Chibok girls.
No, they aren't going there. If they have forgotten the Chibok girls, all the ones that have been rescued, they won't be rescued. What I am saying is this. They have spent 6 months. This 6 months gives you an idea of the way they are moving around, moving the hostages about. But you develop the intelligence that you have, and then the capacity of the hostage rescue team, the HRT, that you have, is able to storm. But where you have these ones gives them that visibility that they have, and they are ready to do anything. Therefore, when you approach them, you've got to properly study using technology.
How long do you use to study?
It can take 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. But we are very emotional people. By the time the government, the president gave directive, but the security agencies will give the assessment. What you respond to, it depends on your assessment. Even the Americans, when the Iranian hostage crisis, they failed. The Israelis went to Entebbe, they were successful. It's a 50-50 thing. You are trained, boom. But if you have like 2, 3, 4, 5, you look at the capacity of the hostage takers, you look at them.
Mr. Wilson, so what exactly do we need to be able to do this? Yes, you talk about intelligence and all that. Aside intelligence, we've had stories about how sometimes with intelligence, no action, nothing was done. We've had the stories about the Kuje jailbreak, for instance, where intelligence were provided about the impending attack, and yet the attackers came, did what they did, and left. So beyond having intelligence, what do we do with intelligence?
A lot is being done with intelligence. And now, when you
one of the reasons we went for the NIN was to ensure that when to tackle crime, so that bandits or kidnappers, when they make these phone calls, you're able to trace them and all of that. But we don't see that happening.
You see, national security, just like the name, involves everybody. If you give this intelligence or information, it will be analyzed now, and it becomes actionable intelligence. And they and they sit down on the table and say, look, what are we going to do about this? We are going to move in some special forces. You see, if you read the papers in the last 2 weeks, a lot of kidnapped, nearly 200 people, when I read about them, being rescued. Pressure. There are different methods that you adopt. But what you must avoid is to be stampeded into taking an aggressive action that could have several dimensions. And I don't want us to believe nothing is being done. A lot is being done. And once it is ripe, based on, when you are talking of kidnap, like I stated here in this studio, it is an intelligence-led thing. It is a law enforcement thing. And when you are going there to rescue these individuals, you assess your chances. A lot have been released several years ago. Even when I was Assistant Commissioner of Police Operations in the FCT, I know a British guy who was kidnapped, who went to a Buhari bush. We rescued him successfully, and many are being rescued.
All right, Mr. Wilson, we acknowledge that a lot is being done, and yes, we commend our security forces for what they are doing, but it just seems that sometimes...
They should step up.
Exactly. Sometimes, exactly. When you have people in custody for 6 months, it gives a very grim picture, and all that. And so all we want is for them to be released as soon as possible. But with that being said, thank you so much for coming and sharing your perspectives with us on Daybreak this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's our guest, retired AIG Wilson Inalegu. He is a security expert talking to us about the Kaduna train abductees who are still in custody. We'll take a short breather now, and then when we return,